Well, um, I could probably second. It's Black Sun Tales.
Pardon, did I say something wrong?
Yeah, it's a goofy band name. It's Black Sun Tales.
Black Sun Tales.
Not
Sorry.
like not like your son is African American. Not that.
Uh, oh, got you. So what inspired the name?
Um, Stories largely. I mean, we're a bunch of fantasy nerds. We've had a problem trying to really describe what genre we should be in because metal's very genre centric. Everything's got kind of a sub genre that it fits into. So we
Mm.
started calling ourselves fantasy metal as it felt like it fit the best. Um, we a lot of us grew up with all of those sort of sword and sorcery stories and like movies, books, playing D&D, some portion of video games in there, and we had a lot of names that we were trying to decide on, like combinations of stuff, but it all ended up coming from that sort of realm. So it's a pull on fantasy, it's a pull on maybe not everyone, but most of our songs being sort of a self-contained story in itself. And I'm a big sucker for fantasy stories. So one of the things that I did as I'm writing was try to, and maybe this is a bit more ambitious than I should be getting, but trying to put together our own in music universe, so
Okay.
our own lore to work with. And we have two of the songs, or I guess three of the songs that we have are based off of that. So yeah, Black Sun Tales, the stories of the Black Sun.
Awesome. That's the best background story I've ever heard.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Now you released your first album last year. I personally think it's amazing. What was it like to unleash your story to the world?
Really, really exciting. And I mean, especially being that we're not a big popular group. I think our Facebook page has 350 likes, something like that. Um, some of the reception was really exciting and just kind of took me off guard because we ended up releasing on digital primarily, but we
Mm.
also had physical copies, and we started getting orders for physical copies from crazy places. Like we're out of Regina, Saskatchewan, in Canada,
Yeah.
and we started getting orders for physical copies from like Italy and Spain, Japan, and it's like good, man. So very exciting. Blindsided by that. Yeah.
Well, I found you guys on the Metal Encyclopedia under Canada. So what does that mean to you, knowing that you're in that Metal Encyclopedia?
It's to me, it's kind of it's twofold. The first thing is it's just really exciting. Like you get onto you don't think like we have 30 people coming out to our shows sometimes. It's like we're just not. It's not like we're some sort of massive movement. But then we're on this official metal um, like informational website, and we have some guy and like several people have done album reviews on us. And we're like, I didn't think we were that important. And then the other side was it gives us a little bit of perspective because it's not as though we have a label and it's not as though we have any sort of backing. Everything was funded out of our own pockets in terms of recording and art and everything else. Um, so it's given me some perspective on some of the other bands that I liked. Like one of the bands that I really liked um, that it seemed like not a lot of other people had heard of is Spellblast out of Italy, I believe they are.
Okay.
Really cool guys. They have a whole concept album about the Dark Tower series. Um, anyway, awesome sound. And I figured, well, they've got like 3 albums. They've got 4 albums out now. Surely they've got quite a big following. Um, but then our experience with our album release and how we got put onto a metal encyclopedia, and then the fact that, and I don't know if this counts as name dropping, but the drummer from Spellblast added me on Facebook at some point or another, and I was like, cool, okay. So you wonder if it's a smaller world than you think it is, maybe.
Yeah, fair point. Fair point. Now I love the artwork of the album. What inspired the artwork for it?
So we're from the prairies in Saskatchewan here, so we wanted some of that. We've been trying to find ways to incorporate uh, our own environment growing up, that flat land, the incredible storms, the wildly different weather, and then the guy on the front, of course, is sort of a fantasy trope. So um, he's a facsimile of one of the characters from one of our songs, Blade of Destruction. So that was, yeah, that's basically it. It was this fantasy trope character who's coming out of easier times and going into trouble. So you can see on the back of the album, he's walking away from the bright skies and into the storms.
Yes, it's very impactful just by the artwork. Now, Blades of Destruction, I'll personally say it's an amazing song. You guys did a great job with it. What was the writing mentality when creating that song?
Um, so all of the instrumentality is done by Brandon, our guitarist, and he's getting his a little bit of more formal tidbits from the keyboardist that we had at the time, Rhett. But as far as, say, thematic writing, like I'll do all of the lyrics and the vocal melody. Um, Now I think that they were going for and achieved really well that sort of medieval great adventure, would you say, hero arc. And from there's this story that's been swimming around in my head for a long time, and it's part of this Black Sun universe that I have sitting in the back of my head and will likely never actually get out into realization as these things go. Um, but I heard the song nearly in its entirety, and this is generally how a writing process works. And as I'm listening to it, I'm just getting one or several stories forming in my head. And the one that seems to fit best, like sometimes it's just one story. I'm like, yep, that's it. That's the song. That's what the song's going to be about. It's about this guy going here. He's got these conflicts, and it resolves in this way, or it doesn't resolve. And
Okay.
that was basically it. The only problem is that was one of our earlier songs, and it's not a terribly long song. And traditionally, like for myself, I'm not super experienced in writing music, and it was very difficult for me to try to fit everything material wise um, into that duration and into that framework. So it went under a lot of revisions, but yeah, a lot of starting with their template and then forming a story, usually a original story around that. Um, but that one I already had sitting in my head, and when I heard the song, I was like, "Yep, that's the one. We're using this song."
Awesome. Now, how has living in Saskatchewan and the whole province, and more importantly, your city and the metal scene that's there, help inspire the band to continue doing what you're doing now?
Um, Being in the province, like I talked about the weather a little bit already, and we tend to believe that it's maybe this is just Saskatchewan gusto. I don't know, but we tend to think that going from minus 50 in winter to plus 35 or whatever it is in the summer toughens us up a little bit. And this is certainly not unique to us, but love conflict in our music and all of our stories. So as far as the city metal community, there really isn't anyone else quite like us in the area. There's another band around called Hellhounds, and they're about as close as we get. Still, like, we play a lot of shows together because aside from the two of us, it's basically black metal and death metal, and putting, like, I mean, I don't think that we're terribly cheesy. I think that we do a good job of kind of keeping that classic power metal cheese out of it, but putting our comparatively cheesy sort of ideas, like, this is a fucking angry guy with a sword, up against not against, but alongside in the lineup, black metal and death metal, it's always a little bit weird. We generally open for like Blade of Destruction, Heroes and Magic and bullshit, and then they're like into all of their material and all of how they sound. So half the time when we're playing and we start opening up for a show, I'm looking out over the crowd, and there's certainly a couple people going like, "I thought I was here to see a metal show." So it's interesting, and it's really nice being able to play with Hellhounds and bands who have a bit more of that, not necessarily fantasy, but more melody as well.
Awesome. What has been the biggest show you've done?
The biggest show that we've done is there's a show, not this spring, but the one previous, that we went up to Edmonton and played. And man, I can't remember all the bands who were in it, but we played it at the Forge, and that was Forsaken Right's own venue. Awesome crew, like full theatrics, fur and leather, stage gear, amazing. Like the lead singer has a set of electric bagpipes that he takes on stage for
That's awesome.
That's awesome. They're so cool. Unfortunately, that venue has since burned down.
Oh,
but it was amazing. And there's I'm sure there's a couple of videos kicking around online where people are at the Forge, but big, beautiful stage. The place is packed. Great lineup, like amazing sound. The sound guys there were just incredible. So good at what they did. So it was still like, it's not like you've ever done some sort of open air, thousands of screaming fans. But that was awesome. High professionalism, amazing talent to play alongside. Yeah.
awesome. Now, when can we expect any new releases from you guys?
That's a good question. Now, the first album was kind of a labor of love in that we wanted to get it out, and we didn't. We're not swimming in money. I'll say that. So it's an expensive process.
Yeah.
Now, we certainly would have liked to, but we weren't able to record all of our material.
Oh.
We've got 5 main tracks on the album, and at the time of the recording, I think we had 9 songs, and that's including our cheesy ass rendition of Misty Mountain Cold. But yeah, like, it would have been great to do all of those, but it just wasn't the time for it. So hopefully we'll get some or all of them on the next release. When? I don't know. Currently we're working on new stuff. We're going to be playing again in October here, I believe, and it's going to be some time. I'll just say that. Rebuilding the band after we've changed keyboardists, and we're trying to sort of define our sound and our songwriting process. So, not soon.
Okay. But within the next 5 years, we can say?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Look forward to it. Speaking of the next 5 years, 5 to 10 years from now, where would you like to see yourself and the band?
5 to 10 years? Germany.
Germany. Is that that's the main goal, Vakin, I'm assuming?
I mean, that's pretty ambitious, obviously, but I've always wanted to play for we play now, and we play in these somewhat smaller settings, and every once in a while I'll catch somebody in the crowd mouthing my lyrics back to me. I'm just like, yes. But to listen to some of these like Blind Guardian live recordings and things like that, where he'll just stop singing and wait, and you can hear the whole crowd singing in unison, no cue. They didn't have to, obviously, they have to prep or anything. Like, it's so well known and so beloved. I want to be able to put a show on for 5, 10, 20,000 people and get that energy. That's what I want. I want to pay my bills with metal on a permanent sort of basis. But that's something to work on, and it's sort of a pipe dream.
Awesome. But hey, dreams are meant to happen, and as long as you keep at your dreams, you're going to get it done. I have faith in you guys.
Thanks, man.
No problem. Now it's time. It's the point of the interview where we play a little game. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay, it's called Thrasher Dash. The game's fairly simple. I'm going to say a band, a song, and an album. Now, if you like the band, song, or album, you say thrash. If you don't, you say dash. You don't have to explain your answer, but if you feel the need to, go right ahead, okay?
All right. I will preface this by saying that if I don't know one of these, I'm sorry in advance.
That's okay. I'll try and make them stuff you would know.
Okay.
Blind Guardian, obviously. We'll do Mirror Mirror.
Thrash. No question.
Thrash. How about Tyr, the band from the Faroe Islands in Denmark?
I don't care what you're gonna say. Thrash.
Thrash. Awesome, man. And then, personally, I think one of the best power metal albums I've ever heard, Manowar, Warriors of the World.
Thrash.
Thrash. Awesome, and it's now time for the last part of the interview where I ask you the poser question. It's a very serious topic. Now, so far we're 7 for 7 with this question. We were almost 6 for 7 after Profaner gave me a very confusing answer.
Okay.
Who would win in a fight, Lemmy or God?
Boy, I don't know if I'm the guy that you want to ask this question. I'm the dude very much on the outside of the metal community. I got big crosses on my arms, and I'm a good Lutheran boy. So.
Okay.
Maybe we'll put that question to our bassist or something.
Yes. We'll leave it at that. But the answer would have been Lemmy is God.
Ah.
Yes. So that's okay, man. We're 8 for 8. You get the exception. We'll give you an exception. Next time around, I'll have a better question for you. Okay.
All right, man.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for this time for letting me interview you. I appreciate it very much. Ladies and gentlemen at home, make sure to check them out on Instagram, Facebook, buy their stuff on Bandcamp, right?
Yep. Basically all digital platforms.
All digital platforms. And ladies and gentlemen, make sure if you're in the Saskatchewan area to check them out. They're a really good band. Definitely give them a chance. And until next time, I'll see you guys later and keep on thrashing.